experience, before the enactment and proclamation of this Constitution, that a person would be elected by way of a simple majority, and in circumstances in which you would find that the person elected as president did not garner more than half the votes which are cast in a presidential election. So this is an important matter. And the difficulty about this particular article is that it requires, at the end of an election before the declaration, that the Commission carries out some mathematics, some mathematical calculation and computation based on proper returns of the votes that were cast in the polling stations and transmitted, as it were, the results thereof to the National Tallying Center and verified accordingly in terms of the Article 38 and the Elections Act. Now, my lords and my ladies, my starting point would be the fact that in this election, it was declared that, and that is found in paragraph 7 of our petition, that the second respondent in the declared result garnered 7,176,141 votes, which according to the Electoral Commission represented 50.49% of the votes cast in the election. Now, this figure would be correct depending on the calculations that were carried out or computation done by the Electoral Commission based on the votes cast during the elections held on the 9th of August 2022. Now, the complaint on this in this particular regard is contained in paragraph 43 to paragraph 48 of the petition. And for purpose of clarity, with your permission, my lords and my ladies, I would want to read out those particular paragraphs of the petition so that I can properly put it in context. Paragraph 43 avers that the number of voters who turned out to vote in the general election held on the 9th of August 2022 remains indeterminate. The second respondent has been issuing contradictory figures on the voter turnout. On the 9th of August 2022, on or about 1600 hours, 1 hour before the close of polls, the first respondent reported through various public news media outlets the voter turnout around the country was fairly low and was at an average of 52% of the registered number of voters. On 10th of August 2022, at or about 13 hours, in his first media briefing to the public following the close of polling, their second respondent announced that the total voter turnout in the general election as captured in the electronic voter identification kits, that is the KIM kits, was 65.4%, equivalent to 779 voters. Roman 3, the second respondent, however, indicated that he expected the above number to rise once the number of votes identified manually was taken into account. Contrary to the above declaration and reasonable legitimate expectation, the final voter turnout captured and declared in the final results of the presidential election in Form 3C is stated to be 14,213,137 votes, which is absurdly lower and not higher as anticipated. Notwithstanding a computation using addition of the valid votes in figures for the presidential elections, candidates in the aggregate results shows that the total number of valid votes is 14,213,027. Now, my ladies and my lords, the first point that is being made there, that if you look at the results as announced by the Electoral Commission and what is stated in Form C as the turnout of voters, and that is 14,213,137 votes. If you compute or add the number of votes cast for each candidate individually, that is the petitioner, the second respondent, and the two other candidates, that the figure that results is not the figure that was stated in Form 34C. The figure is 14,213,037. That is the first point. And this is important because as we proceed, we are going to demonstrate that the number of voters who took part in the elections and the number of votes cast in the election is indeterminate and is a moving target. It keeps on shifting. And I invite your lordships and my ladies to look at the results as set out in Form 34C and I equally invite the court to calculate the number of votes garnered by each of the presidential candidates